Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Obscurities in Miniature. And it is Friday, which means I am back to doing some obscurities in literature. And I swear today's selection has got to be one of the most obscure things I have come across. It's one of those things I just kind of stumbled upon, and I have to share it now because it's just that cool. So if you've ever listened to me ramble, and if you haven't, shame on you. And if you have, well, you probably know in one form or another, I am a big fan of monster manual books. I will admit I rarely, if ever, get to play these games, but I absolutely love just pouring through, reading about these creatures, and obviously, enjoying the art in all their various forms, just grabbing random monster manual type books I've gotten laying around. This is a really nice one, actually. Fate Forge. Some interesting stuff. And then they get into like layers. The artwork, this book especially, is kind of cool because it's got like the big full page spreads, but then it's got like a whole bunch of, lore about everything. Fun stuff to read about them. If you really want to get into like monster manuals, there's the, Tome of Beasts, the Creature Codex. These have all kinds of stuff. I love these books too. That's a whole other subject if we want to get into it one day. And if you guys have any suggestions for monster manual type books, by all means, please let me know. But that's kind of just to preface what we're going to actually talk about today, and that is this book right here. Out of My Head, The Imaginary Creatures of Josep Baqué. And I don't know how I even stumbled across this. The binding on mine kind of sucks, but I mean, it's kind of designed that way because it needs to lay flat. So, our artist in this particular book here was relatively unknown in his actual life, and it was posthumously that all of this stuff was discovered. And you'll see on the cover, it's way out there. So he did these starting like post Spanish Civil War, during Franco's reign. It's not like this is an artist seeing movies, coming out of Japan in the 50s and 60s and being inspired. This guy just kind of did all this stuff and continued to catalog it. And did it for a good 30-something years, and then dies, and then somehow or other, and there's a whole story about that. And I gotta say, I started reading through the preface, and there's a whole bunch of essays about almost playing like psychologist, anthropologist, in trying to figure out what's going on and where all this stuff came from. So the artist himself, Mr. Bach here, actually cataloged and organized everything into his bestiary that he created. So you'll see right here it's broken down, and these are the animal numbers. I'm sorry, these are actually the page numbers. I'm not even sure now. Page number sounds more applicable because there's something like almost 1,500 creatures in this book. It's wild. So like I said, they kind of go into, some of the ideas behind it, where some of his, inspiration came from. Obviously, early 30s sci-fi magazines being a major choice, some of the creatures coming from more traditional locations. I'm not even sure, but so we've got a good 20-30 pages of actual information based on his life, where these things all came from, and I want to say the cover's around here somewhere. Get into a little bit of biography. Here was the actual cover of the book. Interior de las grandes islas maravillas, I don't know that number, de metros de altura sobre el nivel del mar, desconocidas, inhabitable para seres civilizados, país de la nieve caliente, descubiertas por el pincel de Josep Baqué, año 1932. So yeah. Of the year 500. So we get into the first section, and like I said, every animal has a particular place, and here we start off, they're quite normal and somewhat based in reality. Somewhat being the word. But as we go through, things just get kind of crazier and funkier, and I am all here for it. Each page you can see here, these are the actual cataloged pages. They've taken really nice, high-quality photos to give you guys an idea of what to expect. And looking through this, it almost reminds me of like when I was reading Where the Wild Things Are as a child, and just that sense of mystery. I have no idea what any of this is. There's no explanation for any of it. It's just all these creatures. So this is the first section, the Animales section. And at one point or another, some of the monsters you can see are kind of interacting with each other. At other points it looks like almost like taxidermy type monsters stuffed on those pages. And as the catalog goes, things start to get weirder and weirder. Remember, this is starting in the 1930s, so we don't have, decades of Ultraman and the like to kind of explain away where some of this stuff came from. And it's just weird. And the crazy thing is there's not a whole lot of repetition. There's some designs and motifs here and there, obviously. I mean, when you have a catalog this large. And what's interesting is the numbers start going up in certain sections. Things start to get a lot more elaborate and complex in their designs. I mean, if you ever wanted to make some 3D models, I'm waiting to see like some of the high-end vinyl figure modelers come in contact with this stuff and want to go and make some figures out of it. I mean, if anything deserves to have like, retro Sofubi type things, I think this would be great. The colors, the shapes, the designs, it's all just so out there. Like I said, so as the numbers get higher, the designs start to get more elaborate and bizarre. We're just skipping and hopping around. Let's jump to another section. We're still in book 1. These are still the animal sections. The Animales y Fieras. Looks like something out of Lovecraft. Again, the shapes are just all over the place, and one of the reasons that binding is so funky is obviously it needs to be able to lay flat. Here we go, we're into book 2, Hombres Primitivas. Primitive man. Some of these get borderline caricaturish, and some of these are just, well, interesting in and of themselves. And again, I'm just jumping huge swaths of this book here. We're going to jump into book 3. Murciélagos y insectos. Bats and bugs. And I mean, I guess for as funky as the setup of the book is, it really works, giving each of these pages as much space to breathe, so to speak. You can hear that cracking, right? I'm afraid the book is just going to come apart on me. When we get to book 4, Arañas Gigantes, giant spiders. No, we skipped most of book 4. Go back. There's not much in book 4. Spiders look relatively tame, somewhat. Let's jump to book 5, the Serpientes. Again, and we're just giving some highlights here. Jumping into 6, Caracoles, the snails. Goofy looking things. My grandmother would have absolutely loved this book. Absolutely loved it. Book 7 is Pulpos, Sepias y Mariscos. Ocean life. Is it pulpos or octopus, isn't it? This is one of these books that since I've owned it, it's like every time somebody grabs it and flips through it just to look at it, you know, we come across something new. Book 8 is Animales de Pluma. Feathered animals. Mostly birds. Not necessarily all birds, though. And again, I love that we have these actual end pages from the actual texts that he put together. Oh, those are kind of cool. Back to the squids. Sepias. They're weird. Book 9 is Pescos Varias. All sorts of fish. That was intentional. And unfortunately, as the text says, page 435 is missing. We will never know what it had. And then in the very back is a section of just loose pages that weren't actually included. So again, neat stuff. Like I said, I even started reading through the biographical bit at the beginning, and that's not something that I usually do. And just, I mean, flipping through this reminded me of another obscure book we've got, and you can see a video we have on it, and that's the Codex Seraphinus, where it's just the artist put that stuff on paper, committed it to paper, and just let everybody else's imaginations figure it out. You know, this is one of those things we'll never know. The author passed away almost a century ago. That's kind of wild, or at least drew this almost a century ago, but he's been dead for some time. And this is all we have. And this is just such a cool book. I mean, Fantagraphics always puts out cool stuff anyway. This is going to be a hard one to find, I'm afraid. So if this looks like something of interest to you, if you want to have something, definitely it's a conversation piece. And I mean, even my grandfather, who isn't much of this type of book fan, you know, was very enthralled flipping through it, just looking at just the colors, the wildness, the fact that, you know, everything is its own creation here. There's just a lot going on. So I really feel like, you know, show Fantagraphics that you guys are interested if this seems like something you like. And like I said earlier, you have any suggestions for Monster Manual, Bestiaries, books of those type that seem like they'd be my type of ticket, please let me know in those comments or hit me up on Discord or whatever form of conversing you wish to, because I am always in the mood for more. And we got plenty more books that we're going to be posting in the upcoming weeks, months, years, whatever you wish. I've got way too many that need to get filmed. So yeah, we'll be seeing plenty more. With that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities in Miniature saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.